Under the St. Charles County Council meeting of October the 10th, 2023, and I will entertain a motion. Mr. Brazel, would you?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session as per state statute RSMO 610.021, 1 and 2.
Do I?
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say,
I'll read
oh, we
it.
have to do a roll
have to
call
close
vote. I'm
it.
sorry.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam? Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond? Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
And Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session. We will be back at 7 o'clock. Okay. Actually, we got 4, but that's heater. No. Yeah, we can, go ahead. Yeah. Good, yes.
Chair, I'd like to motion to return to open meeting.
Okay, we have a motion, I have a second to return to the open meeting?
Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call, or we just saw? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now, we will begin our regular meeting, and I want to welcome you folks. Just a reminder before we get started that, you know, if you want to be a speaker, please fill out a speaker card. We will have the invocation by Deacon Richard Tadlock, chaplain for the St. Charles County Police, and the Pledge of Allegiance that will be by Nancy Snyder. Please stand.
Let us place ourselves in the presence of God. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today for the thriving community of St. Charles County, we are reminded, Lord, of our blessings, which all come from you. And we're reminded of our rich history and promising future of this county represents. As it was founded in 1812, this county has grown to become one of the fastest growing and most vibrant counties in Missouri. We acknowledge the hard work and the dedication of the county's many employees that make our county a great place to live. St. Charles County is not only a place of natural beauty, which you provide for us, Lord, but it's a county St. Charles County is a hub of economic activity, home of many multinational corporations. It's a thriving community and is consistently ranked among the top of the great state of Missouri. Lord, we thank you for these blessings. Today, we convene this board. As we convene this board meeting, let us keep in mind that all good things come from you, Lord, and let us be inspired by the collective commitment to making St. Charles County an exceptional place to live, work, and shop. May the deliberations be guided by your wisdom, Lord, your compassion, and in the best interests of all in our community. We invoke your spirit of unity and collaboration as this council addresses the challenges and opportunities that are ahead. In the Spirit of the Lord, let us commence this meeting with a sense of purpose, a shared dedication to the betterment of St. Charles County. May God bless the esteemed members of this board, all of our county workers, our residents, and our great state of Missouri. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Don't believe we need to call the roll again. Oh, we do? Okay. Please call the roll.
Councilman Matt Swanson. Here, ma'am. Councilman Joe Brazel. Councilman Mike Elam. Councilman Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilman Dave Hammond. Councilwoman Nancy Schneider.
Here.
Councilman Tim Baker.
Here.
Okay, thank you. The first order of business tonight is several conditional use permits, beginning with Bill number 5234. Mr.
Bill num-
Myers?
Bill number 5234, requested by Mike Hurlbert, sponsored by Joe Brazel. An ordinance granting conditional use permit, CUP 23-19, for an automobile sales business to the estate of Clifford Brown and Elwanda Brown, property owners, and Ovidiu Kodos for Carfan LLC applicant. Do you solemnly swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Myers?
Sure. My name is Robert Myers. I'm the Planning and Zoning Division Director for St. Charles County. Briefly, the application is for a conditional use permit to operate automobile sales at 8073 Hawk Ridge Trail with inventory of approximately 15 cars. You may know this location as near the intersection of I-64 and Highway N. And both the zoning and the land use have been trending strongly towards commercial for some years. But right next door to this parcel, which is zoned commercial, in fact, the county council rezoned it recently through ordinance 23-089. Despite the fact that it's commercial, and the trends in the area to the north and to the east are single-family homes that border this property. So as part of this application, there are certain conditions that are recommended in order to address that, in order to address visual impacts. The parcel is about 3/4 of an acre, and there's an existing house and a garage on the property, which would be converted from residential to commercial. The concept plan shows room for approximately 15 cars. We'll know for sure at site plan stage, should the county council approve this conditional use permit. But so that should give you an idea of the scale of this property. The existing garage would be used for tune-ups for cars, like oil changes and cleaning of cars. Also, you may be interested to know that the hours of operation are proposed 10 a.m. through 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. A moment ago, I mentioned about the homes to the north and to the east. And so in the conditions, a type 2 landscape buffer is proposed to address the visual impacts. The staff report that's attached as part of Exhibit B, it goes into much more detail in terms of the criteria for conditional use permits and offers analysis by county staff. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing at which they received 2 opposed and 0 concerns, after which the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval with specific conditions that are provided for you in the bill that's in front of you.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for Mr. Meyer? Okay, thanks, sir.
I would like to introduce Ovi Koto from Carfan LLC as the applicant and property owner.
Welcome.
Good evening.
You'll need to be sworn in there, sir.
Do you solemnly swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right.
So yeah, as mentioned before, I currently acquired this property, and we're in business in Washington, Missouri at the moment. We've been in business for approximately 4 years, and the goal is to move the dealership up here in Lake St. Louis. I live in the area, so it'd be more convenient, and I think that area is in need of a smaller dealership that meets the needs of lower range price cars, but also from 5 to 20, 25 range is the target. So if there's any questions,
Any questions from anyone on the council? Okay, seeing none, thanks, sir.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone to testify here?
Arnie Dinoff.
Mr. Dinoff.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know do I have to ask for somebody at the back to
No, it
turn
should
this
pop-
on,
It
or?
should pop up, I think.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
I think if you stick it on there, it'll pop up.
Okay. Let's see how this works.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, and I'm County Public Advocate. And this whole entire neighborhood over the last decade has really changed. But it's changed for the good. It's brought up substandard buildings or vacant land to something that's of substance and something that we could be proud of in a good neighborhood commercially and residentially. But I still have some concerns. This applicant has a lot of hurdles to overcome in terms of his presentation thus far. I was for the rezoning, but I want to make sure that the residential properties that are behind this property on Mingo Lane are kept intact, and that you uphold those property values to the highest potential. In my opinion, there's not enough assurances that we have so far. This neighborhood is made up of technology companies, high-tech companies with Dynaflex, service-related industries such as the Firestone that's on the other side of the bridge, and commercial other entities. The applicant wants to keep the barn and the structural of an old, uncompliant building that's been let go, that's been negated, and has some safety concerns. There needs to be some more capital improvement to increase property values and bring the property up to compliance with the 2022 International Building Code. And I'm not exactly sure what building code we're on. We may be on the 2018 Building Code, but I know that there's some other ordinances on the agenda tonight that will bring up measures to protect health, safety, and public safety, of course. Now, this property, I have some ADA compliance issues in terms of the parking spots. I don't currently see where there's Americans with Disabilities Act for the restrooms being provided in the waiting room area. And that's going to be a substantial cost to the developer. As you can see here, this is his Washington, Missouri location, and it has a quaint, small, older home on there that's been kept up to standards, where the property on Hawk Ridge has not been kept up to standards, and there's a lot of code enforcement that needs to be done. So I would hope and instill that the applicant at least meets these expectations or better expectations. There needs to be traffic protections in terms of there needs to be condition for a right in, right out. As you all know, Hawk Ridge Boulevard is a very busy thoroughfare, and it's increasing on a daily basis with the Springhurst subdivision during the morning, school children being picked up with school buses, and people coming home during rush hour in the evening. And as you all know, Missouri Highway N, Route N, backs up into 364 in both directions during rush hour. Let's see here. There needs to be approval from MoDOT onto the lane that goes beside the property, and that still has not been accomplished. So I would ask that there be no no left turns, and that there be a right in and a right out. I ask that the applicant be required to install a 10-foot trail, multi-use, or in place of that, at least a minimum of a 5-foot ADA, Americans with Disabilities, compliant sidewalk. Those other neighborhoods have sidewalks. This person needs to be responsible to hook up those missing links. If we don't start somewhere, we're gonna have a bunch of sidewalks that just lead to dead ends and don't lead anywhere. So I would ask that you put that as a condition on the applicant. I ask that there be a condition for no outdoor storage, no derelict vehicles or dilapidated vehicles, no barrels be stored on the outside, no outside work be done outside of the building, and that no unloading or loading on public roadways be allowed. A lot of times when car dealers have their deliveries, those tandem trucks end up parking on major thoroughfares like Route K or Route N or wherever the major thoroughfares are. So I would ask that when they're offloading or unloading, that it be done on private property and not done on the shoulder or the public right-of-way. When it comes to detention retention, it needs to comply with the new state and county M4 rules and regulations. And I saw a video at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I wish the gentleman had forwarded that email to me or was here tonight to provide that email testimony. But there's flooding on Mingo Lane. And that flooding was pretty severe in terms of when we have these 8 to 10 inch rainstorms that we seem to have every other year. So those are concerns, and I don't exactly see where the applicant is meeting the M4 rules and regulations for retention, detention, and the slow release and the filtration to make sure that that water is clean when it leaves his property. There are some noise concerns, as I said, in the back of the property, and I'm sure the resident will be up after me to testify. And that resident had some testimony at Planning and Zoning about noise concerns. And so we need to limit the amount of work when it's being done, something reasonable from like 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And when it comes to landscaping, type 2 buffer, it needs to be something that's more standard and more substance to provide the resident in the back with some type of protections. So I don't know if we need to go to a type 3 landscape buffer or a privacy fence, but I'd like to see that installed. And then I would also like the council to limit the amount of outdoor vehicles to 10 vehicles. If he's going to have at least 2 employees, being conservative, and having 2 customers at a minimum, and having a possible mechanic, right there is going to be 5 spots. And so he's only going to have, according to his diagram and his application made to the Community Development Department, 15 spaces that are paved. So I would like to see a limit of 5 vehicles on this property, or I'm sorry, 10 vehicles on this property to allow for ADA parking, employee parking, and customer parking. And then I just wanted to show you some other issues in the neighborhood. Right across the street is Dynaflex, and Dynaflex makes these dental and medical type products. As you can see right there, they're a multi-million-dollar business, and they have invested in the city of O'Fallon and St. Charles County. And you'll see by their new building that was opened up last year, about a year and a half ago, they put substantial capital improvement value here, where I don't think that the applicant is going to do that. And then right next door is the No Leash, which is a pet-oriented business. And they just have built over a multi-million-dollar building. I believe it was $1.3 million in cost. I'm not sure. We'd have to check with the assessor to find out what is on the tax rolls of the value of that building. But you could see that they brought this neighborhood up to substantial value in protecting all the adjoining property owners. From the testimony that I heard the planning and zoning, I had some real reservations, and like I said, there's a lot of hurdles that the applicant must overcome to make his property at least look like the Washington, Missouri property, at least that or better for the neighborhood. And for those reasons, at this time, I'm opposed to this applicant. I'm not opposed to the use of the rezoning, but I'm opposed to his plan and how he's not putting in the capital improvement necessary to meet our building requirements, our building regulations, ADA regulations, and to make the neighborhood a more attractive, more valuable place to live and do commerce. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire?
Gilbert Phillips.
Mr. Phillips.
Folks,
I'll swear you in.
I live at,
You need to be sworn in, sir.
Do you solemnly swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I live at 10 Mango Lane. I'm adamantly opposed to this. I'm retired now. I like sleeping late every now and then. I don't want to hear impact wrenches running in the morning. I don't want to hear people working outside. There's a lot of questions raised from the planning and zoning meeting. I haven't seen any response to any of those. That sketch that they had earlier had an access getting onto Mingo Lane. They can't do that. The elevations, they need a civil drawing. They need something to go by. Because right now, you got a building that they're going to use as a garage that's about ready to fall down. You got a house that's not far behind it. And what's the lighting going to be? Is it going to light my front of my house up? You know, they're going to have speakers. How loud are they? I just don't think that they've got enough room on that property. And it's not 3/4 of an acre, it's under 3/4 of an acre. I don't think they got enough room. And if you ever want to see something, go out there 4:30 in the afternoon and sit on Mingo Lane and look how much traffic is on Old Highway N. It'll back up from Firestone all the way to the firehouse. And you're going to try to get in and out of here with a truck and a trailer, back out on the lot? I don't see it. You know, Dynaflex is a big building. They got 2 entrances. why does this little thing gonna have 3 entrances? But I just don't think that it's a good place for it, and I don't think it's gonna work. And I think it's gonna be disruptive to me and my family. A few years back, you rezoned number 9 Mingo Lane into commercial use, and it's been a nightmare. I live across the street from it. I had to wait to get out of my driveway. That they've expanded, they got heavy equipment coming in and out on a 1-lane gravel road. What do? You know, and I can see this thing's gonna turn into another nightmare. So anyways, I'm against it, and I think all these questions, I think they need to produce a set of drawings instead of all this verbal, so, you know, I could take a set of drawings and go down and look at it and see what they're doing. Right now, all I've got is that and verbal. You know, and that's not enough to, you know, put this building up. Okay, thanks, folks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Claire?
It's the final speaker.
Okay. Does anyone on the council have any questions for any of the folks that have testified, or the applicant, or Mr. Myers?
I was wondering if Mr. Myers might want to address some of the issues that the last speaker brought up about lighting and so forth.
Okay. The county has lighting requirements both for light standards, which can't be over 20 feet tall. Also, lighting has to be directed
I don't know
downward.
if he can hear you. Can you hear what Mr. Myers is saying, sir? He's sitting right behind you. Can you
Okay.
hear what he's saying?
Pardon me?
He's telling you what the standards are for lighting and so
I
forth.
don't-
And I'm
would
not,
appreciate-
I just want to know that you can hear what he's saying.
I can hear what he says. but
Okay, that's fine. All right, go ahead,
It
Mr.
needs
Myers.
to go on a set of drawings.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Instead
Mr.
of
Myers.
just a verbal.
Thank you, sir.
right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that statement. And the next step, should this be approved, would be a site plan stage. And at that time, those would be civil engineer drawings. It'd have to be more detailed. It would have to show contours. It would have to meet all requirements for MoDOT's access onto Hawk Ridge Trail and also on Mingo Lane as well. The Lake St. Louis Planning and Zoning Commission at their May meeting, May 2023, approved a 12-acre commercial subdivision across Mingo Lane from this. And they're showing a private street coming out on Mingo Lane. And obviously, we would like to line up those two, the street and the driveway on Mingo Lane. That's an example of the sorts of things that we would have to work out at site plan stage should this be approved. I agree it's conceptual, but that's what we have at this stage is the concept plan stage. In terms of lighting, again, the 20-foot maximum height, light must be directed downward, no more than 0.1, I'm sorry, either 1 or 0.1 foot candles maximum of light at the property line. Sorry, I can't remember that. 0.1?
I think so.
Okay. And in terms of stormwater, the concept plan does show that stormwater would be addressed at the southwest corner of the property. It has a small stormwater area to address that part.
County
Yeah,
Executive?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Robert, usually the questioning is from the opposite direction. And we have people wanting a land disturbance permit or some kind of permit, and they're told they got to go hire an engineer to do a drawing. And I think we've adjusted to that and given some relief in that particular area. But this seems like the kind of thing that you would need to have a more professional approach before they make a decision. And then based on the decision that they make, then you know what to require. And it just seems backward.
Okay, well,
I just address
Yeah.
that. I mean, when do you need a simple drawing? And
Right.
when do you need an engineer's? And what's the theory about why you need which one first and which one second?
right. Well, the conditional use permit stage, typically it's a less detailed drawing, and that's to show That's to determine whether the concept is going to work and whether that discretionary approval will be granted. The idea is that someone wouldn't have to go out and spend thousands or tens.
Down, it was hard on these small businesses. That's why we did change that.
But the drawing they did have was prepared by an architect, so,
Then
yeah.
On this one?
Yes, yeah, this,
All right, good.
yeah, the
That's good
CUP
enough for
concept
me.
plan is prepared by an architect,
Okay.
yes.
All right, any other questions for anyone involved? Okay, thank you, Mr. Myers, appreciate it. Okay, the next conditional use permit is bill number 5235.
Bill number 5235, requested by Michael Herbert, sponsored by Matt Swanson. An ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-21 for a telecommunications tower and ground equipment to Union Electric Company doing business as Ameren, Missouri, property owners, and Selective Solutions by Susan Story, applicant.
Mr. Myers, you don't need to be sworn in
Okay.
again, does it?
Thanks. This is a conditional use permit request for a cell tower, 154 feet in height, and related ground equipment. The location is on property owned by Ameren, Missouri. They've owned that site since, I think, the 1970s. And the location, it borders Highway 61 to the north. It's east of North Point Prairie Road. The specific site is 10 acres, and there's been an electrical substation on this property for many years, and some decades. In addition to that electrical substation, there's these long-distance electrical transmission lines that cross the property. So the tower that supports those electrical transmission lines, those, I don't know the exact height, but I would guess they're around 100 feet tall. The reason I'm mentioning this is that there's already a certain character to this property in terms of, utility character. The location of this proposed tower is along a tree line on the north side of the property, and it's beyond, but close to these electrical transmission lines. The specific location for that tower is dictated, according to Ameren, by the location of all their utilities on the property and these electrical transmission lines. They're very specific that they want it located on the property in a very specific location in order to meet the requirements. But that specific location means that it's 9 foot short of meeting the theoretical fall distance from the northern property line. So they are asking, the applicant is asking for adjustments to the setback to the northern property line to account for that. Also an adjustment to the fact that the nearest other tower is not 1 mile away, it's only 3,700 feet away instead of 1 mile. The drawings that you have before you, unlike other conditional use permits, cell towers have to provide detailed site plans as part of the packet, and that's in your packet. It's a very detailed site plan for it meets the requirements for site plans for St. Charles County. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing, and at which there was 1 opposed and 0 concerns, following which the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval with certain specific conditions that are reflected in the bill that's before you.
Any questions for Mr. Myers? Seeing none?
I'd like to ask Susan Story with Selective Solutions if she'd like to make any comments or presentation.
Do you solemnly swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Hello. Thank you for having me this evening. My name's Susan Story. I work with Selective Solutions. We are representing Ameren for this project. This is the second Ameren tower we have brought before you guys. We do have a total of 5 in St. Charles County, but only 2 with your jurisdiction. At this time, Ameren is building out their own network. This is to monitor their substations, their transmission lines, and their distribution lines, as well as the remote monitoring that they do in most people's homes at this point. This is a safety issue for them. When the weather hits and a line goes down, at this point, the monitoring service can pick up exactly where that line is down, and they can send those crews out. And also, by bringing this into a private network, they are not piggybacking on AT&T or Verizon, so they are their only network on there, so they're not waiting to get those transmissions. It's also a security factor. These are being located on Ameren-owned properties, so the security is very high there. They have control of who has access to that tower, who's on that tower, who has access to that information. At this point, they've been using the public wireless, like I said, Verizon, AT&T. They have outgrown those devices. They've outgrown the number of devices they are allowed to have, and this is the economical solution, is actually to bring it all in-house. And this is actually happening across the country. There's many, many businesses that are doing this. This is a survey of the property. It is a very large property with the substation right in the middle. We do meet the setbacks to the south. We are 649 feet away, 186 to the west, and 435 to the east. We are only 145 feet to the northern property line. And the reason for that is directly across from there is the giant transmission lines that he was talking about. We have to be a minimum feet away. They were able to push it to 64.5, and that's as far as they could bring it closer to it. There is a tree line there and then the highway after it, so there are no residences on here. The tower is up at the top. The giant gray box is the substation. Currently, the area behind the substation is being reserved for future use and has underground facilities in it. It would be a typical monopole. Here's a Google shot. You can see the tree lines. And then we were able to find one spot where you can look into the substation from Highway 61, and that's where the trees are open. We're going to go right in that corner where the trees are, so it's as visibly hidden as is possible to put in a 154-foot tower. These transmission lines they said that line is anywhere between 125 and 133 feet. Those are, they couldn't tell me exactly which one, how tall that one was, but they said that whole line averages that height. So there's already at least a 125-foot transmission line on there. We do have FAA approval, so there will be no lighting on this tower required. There will be a tiny ground light on the ground equipment, and that's only for emergencies in the middle of the night. Obviously, we have the Missouri Wireless Statute and the Federal Communications Statute as well.
Are there any questions? Okay. Mr. Swanson, sure.
This is literally 1.5 miles from my house. I pass it every single day. This is perfect use for it. This is nothing like Towers Road that we dealt with recently. No neighbors have complained. The nearest subdivision is Sellers Point. No one's complained out of there. It's a great spot for it, so thank you. It's a much better choice than we had on Towers Road, because this is exactly what it should be designed for, so thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any public comments on
Arnie
this
Dienoff?
particular? Mr. Dienoff.
You've been sworn.
I've been sworn in. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. And I want to start off by this morning, I sent you all an email that you were copied in on, and I'm opposed to this project of this cell phone tower. And there were some inconsistencies of my public testimony before the Planning and Zoning Commission. It seems to keep happening there and here at the County Council, where they erroneously marked that I have concerns, when I clearly stated in my opening speech to the Planning and Zoning Commissioners that I was opposed to this project. So I sent you all an email to the county council staff, the county council members, to your attorneys, and to the director of planning and zoning. And so I am opposed to Ameren UE, Union Electric's application. I believe that they can co-locate on an existing facility that Ameren UE currently owns, such as some of their buildings, such as some of their poles, lighting poles, and existing towers that they already own. This is a rapidly growing residential area, as you all know. There's a number of subdivisions, and this keeps growing by leaps and bounds. So I believe that they could co-locate on existing infrastructure. Now, 54-foot tower is a lot larger than their transmission towers. So as you all know, on Towers Road, at the last meeting and on tonight's agenda, there is a legal document where you're denying AT&T Tower, and that has to do with the residential development or residential neighborhood, residential district where this is agricultural. But section 505.2 says that setbacks from the roadway requirement has to be a minimum of 145.3 feet. And so that gets into also the expansion of US Highway 61 and the right-of-way. There are plans in both the East-West Gateway Coordinating Council and our local plans at the County Road Board to expand US Highway 61 and make some safety improvements along with possibly increasing or realigning the lanes. So because of that, I want to get ahead of the curve here, and let's negotiate with Ameren UE, and let's have them, as part of this application, donate the required right-of-way so taxpayers aren't expensed down the road and Ameren makes a huge profit. So I'd like to see some donation of the right-of-way as part of this application. There are some fall zone safety issues on the US Highway 61, and it has to do with part of our code. In addition to the 1 mile spacing distance that Mr. Meyer had referred to, they fall short of the 1 mile, and exactly it's 3,700 and some feet, in violation of section 405.505.A.1 and 405.505.B.6 of our county codified code, which requires a 1 mile minimum distance between their towers. So there's some landscaping issues. They're said they're going to try to buffer that. I'd like to see some more landscaping, more buffering, more tree planting, some white pine trees, and some fencing for all the cabinets and any small accessory buildings that they might have. In addition, as you all know, we had a windstorm about a month ago, 2 months ago maybe. And I know in O'Fallon on Peeper Road, there was a cell phone tower where I couldn't contact because their fence blew down and there was some damage to their tower. And emergency contact of 24 hours, 7 days a week that somebody answers the phone. There should be a condition that a number be provided on that tower to call somebody in case of an emergency. Also, I'd like to see a condition placed on this tower, like the city of O'Fallon has done in existing cell phone towers. As we all know, this is going to be a temporary technology. There's technology that is always changing and always getting better, and so this will be obsolete when we turn around and all of a sudden we have an abandoned tower. So I would ask that the council place a $100,000 bond for demolishing and removal of the tower and its accessory buildings, because Ameren UE tends to, as the cell phone towers, form LLCs, which don't have any assets or any abilities to remove those existing towers. And they sit there and they're an eyesore to the community, they're an eyesore for children to play in and have access to, and so we need to make sure that they remove those in a timely fashion. I believe that they can locate this on existing equipment, existing buildings that they have, without putting up another tower cluttering our environment, and especially the residential development that's moving eastward towards US Highway 61. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers?
Final speaker.
All right. That concludes the CUP 5235. Or is there any other comments from anyone about this particular CUP? Seeing none, there is a tabled CUP. I don't see any action on removing that from the table, so we will move on to public comments. Just a reminder that when you speak on public comments, you'll be allowed 3 minutes, and if we have a situation where we have speakers for and against, we will alternate 3 for, 3 against. Okay,
Eric Boswell.
Mr. Boswell. Don't need to be sworn in for public comment. You're
Good afternoon, or good evening, Council. Thank you. My name is Eric Boswell. I'm with Consort Homes. I'm a home builder in the area, also with the HBA Home Builders Association. I've been a project manager since 2001 with 18 years of experience. I want to thank you for looking at adopting our proposed amendments and encourage you to accept the proposed concrete wall amendment table. Just kind of a quick background. We take several steps when we pour a foundation. We pour the footing, we put a keyway in it. We follow the table as far as the number of bars of steel horizontally we put in the foundation. Actually, before we even dig the hole, we have a soils engineer come out and check every hole for their recommendation to make sure it's suitable. And if for some reason it was determined that it was not suitable, then the exception that is listed on that sheet would come into play, where vertical steel may be required. We take several steps when we do these foundations. We waterproof the exterior. I mean, we all know that when we pour a foundation, concrete's going to crack. We've had a structural engineer come out and say that in a 50-foot foundation wall, you can expect about 1/4 inch of shrinkage. So, like I said, that typically indicates that you'll have 1 or 2 vertical 1/8 inch shrinkage cracks. It seems very common lately, if you turn on any TV or radio, that you're going to hear companies that strike fear in people that their foundation is failing, that they need immediate action. I think some of these companies have been pulling permits lately in the last 5 years, which is kind of why this has come up, I believe. I'm not going to name those companies specifically, but I mean, at this time, adding vertical steel to our foundations is going to cost several $1,000s. We're still in a housing shortage. I believe that the market with the interest rates have kind of slowed that down a little bit, but the shortage is still there. So requiring vertical steel, costing several more $1,000s, I think is just going to delay that even further. So I would strongly encourage you to adopt the proposed amendments with the concrete wall amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Claire?
Donna Smith.
You don't need to be sworn in.
Don't need,
No.
good.
We're-
Works for me. Thank you. The subject this evening, unfortunately, I'm here on behalf of Rachel Homilak. She's addressed you before about the pornography in the children's section, disguised in children's books, but nevertheless, I think you've seen her email that she sent you. So I'm going to read on her behalf. The first item of business she would like to address is the fact that our libraries are purchasing, with conservative taxpayer dollars, enormous amounts of LGBTQ material. That number is rising exponentially. Since Rachel took her activism to the library in late May, the amount of LGBTQ material in the library has more than doubled in the last 4 months. we would like to demand a detailed item list of materials that the library is purchasing and has purchased under the dictatorship of library CEO Jason Kuhl. It's only fair that the people here in our community who are funding this library and this garbage for our young children, and I mean very young children in the library section, where their money is going. Rachel would like to also ask you all a question, and that question is, she wants to know if you believe it's okay for adults to be drawing, painting, or illustrating minors having sex, sexual things, or doing anything sexual for that matter. If your answer is no, then congratulations, you're a civilized human being. Children should just not be exposed to the kinds of things that we see and have seen and do have and have bought in our public libraries. We need to address the obscene and highly inappropriate books that Jason Kuhl has purchased for our children in our children's library. They are placed in the children's section. Dozens of children's books in our library right now contain illustrations of naked minors, minors engaged in sexual activities, and gross descriptions of homosexual activities, clearly pushing a sexual agenda on our very small children. This is not acceptable. It's a library for education. This is pornographic and pedophilia. Rachel sent you an email already with photographs and book titles. She asked that you review it and understand that most library systems across the nation receiving blowback for allowing these exact pedophilic materials that are placed in our library. We are not special or unique. It's time to do the right thing.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Janice Bruman. Janice Bruman.
I was just going to give a written copy to the council members, but I let two people talk me into reading this, so I guess I'll read it. Everyone knows most men like to look at pictures of women, etc. This started in the Old Testament with David and Bathsheba. The Old Testament also tells how Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of homosexuality overtaking the city. If people want to look at gay pictures, etc., then they can go to what we old people called dirty bookstores. If they are embarrassed to go to a dirty bookstore, then that shows they secretly know it is shameful behavior. If they don't want to check it out at the library with a librarian, that also shows they are embarrassed about this. But these same depraved people want pornography, especially gay pictures, out in the main floor of the library so they can sit and read it unnoticed by anyone. Children can find it too, but they don't seem to care. There is plenty of this filth online, so look at it at home. Almost all taxpayers don't want to fund pornography and depravity in the libraries and schools. Only perverts do. So let's not go down in flames like Sodom and Gomorrah. And who orders this stuff for the libraries and public schools anyway? I guess that's my last question besides Jason Kuhl. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Beth Chamlin.
Can you all hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, well, good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I think I'm going to have to put on my old person glasses. Mr. Ellman, I read in the Post-Dispatch today that you have nominated an individual who, and I'm quoting, and if you are misquoted, please correct me, who would have the conservative bona fides to appease the critics of the current library board. I also understand that the council has to confirm the nominations. I request that you do not appease the most conspiracy-addled, dishonest, and mean-spirited people in our community. They are a small but vocal and fanatical group of individuals, but they do not represent me or the majority of St. Charles County residents. On Saturday, my neighbor's pride flag was torn down, burned, and left on their front porch. Their house could have caught on fire. While I believe that nobody on this council condones this hateful criminal behavior, things like this happen when the worst of our citizens are emboldened. I am grateful that the police are taking this crime seriously. Also, a library employee is being harassed and videotaped at work by extremists who choose to perpetuate lies and fight windmills. As someone who has worked with crime victims for over 30 years, I am afraid that someone is going to get hurt because of these lies and fabrications. I have lived in St. Charles for 25 years. I want well-educated and qualified individuals to be on the Library Board of Trustees and for nominations to remain nonpartisan. I hope that the council will focus on improving St. Charles County instead of getting entangled in inane culture war silliness. For instance, we desperately need more 911 dispatchers to ensure that everyone has access to first responders. I am on Team Normal. I believe in being honest, level-headed, moderate, kind, and for decisions to be made based on facts and reason, not emotions and intimidation. Fanatics will not stop, and they will never be satisfied. You are the grown-ups in the room. Do not give in to toddlers who have temper tantrums. Do not let this be your legacy. I hope that you have the courage to stop the nonsense and do the right thing. I will close with words from a wise man. Abomination and misery are all you will harvest from fanaticism, from believing the foolish and the mindless. Thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Arnie Dienoff.
Mr. Dienoff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. First of all, we need to pray for the state of Israel and for the hostages, their families, the lost lives, and especially the Americans who lost their life at the act of terrorism. And I think that really resonates with me, and I'm sure it resonates with you and everybody in the audience. So let's keep them in our prayers, and let's hope there's some resolution besides war. I'm opposed to the county spending yet another $74,000 for the 2023 J.D. Powers National Automobile Dealers Association used car prices. This is a waste and angers, agitates county residents to the nth degree. We are being raked over the coals, and the new assessor, Travis, shall use common sense rather than allow windfalls for all of the county's various political governments. The interstate road project is way off the mark in the engineer's estimated cost. The county states 2.7% over, but this is less than three-fourths of 1 mile of a roadway. You can't tell me that this roadway is going to cost close to $6 million to reconstruct. Makes no sense. LED display board at the Family Arena in the amount of $1,888,000. Give me a break, council. This is a losing entity, and where's the return on investment? $221,000 in mural paintings for the county council building? Are you serious? $221,000? What's wrong with a picture of the portrait rather than hiring a artist? Bill number 5233 has safety and foundation of cracks versus profits. The actual cost of putting in horizontal rebars between $200 and $250, not the outrageous figure provided by the Home Builders Association representatives at the last meeting. The Home Builders Association lobby, HBA, shall not and will not continue to govern and dictate county government decisions of appointed nor elected officials. I do not appreciate the HBA marching in here and ordering decisions by throwing around their power and their money. They just did it last week in O'Fallon over a 60-page document worth of code changes, and the elected officials are going to say enough is enough. How many elected officials accepted campaign money or gifts from the Home Builders Association? The HBA is currently trying to strong-arm O'Fallon, as I said, and enough is enough. St. Charles County is a designation and prime for growth. So the $175,000 Rory O'Sullivan, why do you continue playing petty political games that are childish and not worthy nor appreciated?
Thank you, Mr. Enoff.
And I'll ask for Mr. Colleen's salary at the next thing, because Mr. O'Sullivan doesn't get my request.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other public
That's
comments?
the final speaker.
What's that? That's the final speaker. Okay. Next on the agenda is an oral report from our county executive.
Not this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now we come up with the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Mr. Baker?
Yes, I would like to pull off the Interstate Drive project.
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to pull off the appointments too on the, for the library board.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. So we have two items to be removed. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those two items are removed at this point. Do I have a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. First of all, Mr. Baker, with the interstate.
Yeah, Interstate Drive, I'm real big on local bidder preference, and I know City of St. Louis and St. Louis County, not that we should follow their example, but they have a local bidder preference, 2%. And the bid for this, the second low bidder on this job is Millstone Weber, which is a St. Charles firm, and it falls within the 2% category. So this is really a comment to the council, something that we may want to think about to promote growth in St. Charles County and St. Charles County businesses, is to look at also adopting a local bidder preference of 2%, which, if this was the case, the local, a local business would have got this bid. So that's my comment, so.
I don't believe that we, Bob, maybe you know this, don't we have the authority on that low, isn't it 5%?
No.
Thank
No,
you.
we don't. We have a policy that basically is factored on individual circumstances. And the problem with a flat percentage is that can range from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars, meaning that the taxpayers of this county, if you're talking about a multi-million-dollar contract, you're talking about the taxpayers of this county and this governing board willfully spending X number of dollars more than the taxpayers
I get
could
that.
have.
We willfully-
Now, there is a value for local impact, and local impact in the economy. Where this has come up most of the time is on vehicle purchases, where very little of a vehicle purchase comes back to the local economy. The dealers make their money on service, and we have all of our cars serviced here. If you're talking about a local contractor getting not getting a bid because of a 2%, it really comes down to making a judgment call on what that extra amount of money that the county is paying for the same service and how that equates to its impact on the local economy. Generally, I don't think it's a good investment because everything costs more, and competition is a good thing generally.
Mr. Baker?
Well, I don't, I mean, for this example, it's $44,000 that we're talking about on a $5.5 million contract. Does that have a $44,000 economic impact to St. Charles County? I don't know the answer to that, but it's just something that I think this body should consider and think about. I know you always bring up the car purchasing. I'm looking strictly on construction bids for like road projects of this case. So I just think we just want to promote St. Charles County businesses, and for a bid this large, it's just something that, you know, as a body, we may want to think about. So, thank you.
Good.
I would just caution not to do that as an absolute.
Maybe not as an absolute, but for construction projects like this, I understand bidding cars and those things may have
Well, I'm
different
talking about
circumstances.
construction. that I would caution not to handcuff this council into automatically getting a local vendor in here because they fall within the 2%. Because when you enact a hard and fast rule, you tell every bidder out there, every local bidder out there, that if they get it within 2%, the bid is theirs. And you want to stay away from that as part of maintaining the integrity of your bidding process. So you can, yeah, I mean, you can have that discussion. We've had that discussion before, and we've always kind of come back to what we have now is basically the best way to handle it.
Thank you.
Respect your opinion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next up would be Mr. Brazel and your...
On the library board,
Yes.
I do know Buddy Harden. I did talk to Mr. Harden, ask him some questions. I know that he is a good appointee for this position. Steve Elman did a good job of trying to get some balance. You know, it's funny when some of the points that are being made that when they start, I think a year ago, as I read something, there were 300 and something LGBT books. Now there's like over 600. And I find that very strange when how many other increases are to that high percentage are in categories where the majority of people exist, where the very, very minority is in the LGBT community and or the transgender community. And so it seems to me that Jason Cool is nothing but a political activist, and not only are there complaints on these books and stuff, there's complaints on low pay, on inadequate treatment of employees. There's a lot of problems with the library district, and Jason Cool really needs to go. He's not effective for what he's supposed to be doing. The job is to get kids and people to read books and not be closed on Sunday like they are. And so they have a lot of major problems with the library district. As far as, it's always funny when someone comes up here and talks, or when they're speaking about an opinion that they don't agree with, that they call the people who have a conservative opinion an extremist or a fanatic. I mean, that's very typical of a lefty lunatic liberal, because if it's not in that category or in their woke agenda, then they criticize the people who are conservative. It happens all the time. Talk about tolerance, that's zero tolerance right there. And so I think that these pornographic books, if you looked at them, online, that took some pictures of, Mr. Baker went up there and he did call Jason Cool, and they admitted they are putting these books everywhere. I think it's disgusting. It's gross. And they are pornographic. There's no question about it. And I know that this council is trying to do certain things that we really don't have the power to do. We're trying to figure it out, but this is one step right here. And the other thing is, you know, heterosexuals don't sit there and push their sexual agenda publicly. It's not what we do, and Christians don't do that. And so I don't understand why this is such an important agenda right now. It's like, if you have a homosexual experience or gay or whatever, my uncle was gay, he was my best uncle ever, I don't care. Just live your life and let everyone just do your thing. Why cram it down people's throat and indoctrinate and constantly talk about it? And that's the problem with Jason Cool. He is absolutely a political activist, and everybody knows it. And the board has issues, and they need to adjust their ways, or they're going to all be gone. So that's my opinion.
Thanks, sir. I need a, yes, Miss. Yes.
Maybe since Mr. Harden is here tonight, maybe we could just step up and so we can see who he is. Mr. Harden, would you stand up? Not to discuss anything, but just to show your face.
Okay.
I've known Mr. Harden for probably 40 years. We were children at the time, perhaps, but, okay, thank you.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I just want to second what Mr. Brazel said. I think he was spot on. Jason Cool is nothing more than an activist trying to make an agenda as opposed to running our libraries, which is what I understand he was hired to do. So I look forward to Mr. Harden being on the board, and we got a voice that echoes, I think, the majority of St. Charles County. So thank you, Mr. Elman, for appointing him, and I look forward to more appointees like this. So thank you.
I need a motion to approve the appointments to the
Motion to
library board.
approve.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, that concludes the consent agenda. Moving on to Bills for final passage, starting with Bill number 5231.
Bill number 5231, an ordinance authorizing execution of an amendment to an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for use of county right-of-way for storm sewer utility and road work and related documents.
Questions or comments on this particular bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5231, an ordinance authorizing execution of an amendment to an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for use of county right-of-way for storm sewer utility and roadwork and related documents. Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel? Councilman Elam? Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond? Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay, Bill number 5231 has passed. Next up for final passage is Bill number 5232.
Bill number 5232, an ordinance amending sections 240.201, 240.510, 240.1750, 240.1760, and 500.500 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, offenses concerning public safety, solid waste management, and adoption of property maintenance code of St. Charles County.
Questions or comments on this particular bill? Okay. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5232, an ordinance amending sections 240.201, 240.510, 240.1750, 240.1760, and 500.500 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, offenses concerning public safety, solid waste management, and adoption of property maintenance code of St. Charles County. Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Elam. Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond. Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Okay, Bill number 5232 passes. And last bill for final passage is Bill number 5233.
Bill number 5233, an ordinance amending Chapter 500 Building Codes and County Building Commission ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri by adopting St. Charles County amendments and modifications of relevant standardized codes.
Questions or comments? Mr. Swanson.
I request for this to be tabled to our next meeting, so we have our other two councilmen who
I
are
second
present.
that.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling this particular bill, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill has been tabled, and let me just, give the reason for that is obviously we depend a lot on Mr. Hammond for his expertise on this particular subject, and I'd like for him to be present for the vote. Okay. Next up is bill for introduction, starting with bill number 5236.
Bill number 5236, requested by Jeff Smith, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the municipalities of Wentzville, Lake St. Louis, St. Peters, O'Fallon, and the city of St. Charles for purposes of renewing and modernizing the countywide 911 system.
Questions or comments on 5236? Seeing none, bill number 5237.
Bill number 5237, requested by Dr. Mary Case, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute Amendment Number 2 to Program Services Contract Number KQ 230052432 with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for violent death and overdose death surveillance reimbursement.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move to bill number 5238.
Bill number 5238, requested by Steve Elman, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance setting the 2024 rates for group medical insurance benefits with Aetna Life Insurance Company, Davis Vision, and self-insured dental insurance benefits for county employees, elected officials, and retirees, and extending Aetna Life Insurance Company for 2024.
Questions or comments on this particular bill? Okay, seeing none, are there any announcements miscellaneous? Yes, Mr. Swanson?
I was going to wait to speak on this until we move through the library. I'm assuming you all received the email we got today from a certain constituent and executive. Did you receive it as well? Yeah, the books.
Yes, Mr.
No, I wasn't at work today. I was at home, but
Okay. I am absolutely appalled by the images I saw, to the point that I'm afraid that if someone would sunshine my email for those images, I could get in legal trouble. It is appalling, the images that was sent to me from the books today that were checked out from the St. Charles County Library. As an educator in the St. Charles County, if I had that on my phone, I would be called into the administrative office and probably put on leave. And yet, these are available in an open section of the county library. This needs to be addressed at the top level. To me, this is, I'm just in shock. I really am. And to be told that it's allowed there because it has a binding and has some use, when we have graphic novels of this level that have pictures drawn like this, we need to take some action. And I'm not somebody who's about burning books, getting rid of books, or anything else. By far from it. I am all about the Constitution. But for me, if I had this sent out on a table during a teacher work session, I could probably get a sexual harassment charge against me. And that is uncalled for. And county executive, I don't know what we need to do. I know it's a different district and all.
I've received similar pictures. I talked to Joanne about it, but I was too embarrassed to send them to her.
And you know what? And that was one of my first, Dr. Bray.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot of things. And if you ever have to question, you know it's probably wrong. What I have on my phone from that email, if you all could see it, you would be embarrassed. And I don't know if it rises to the level that the law enforcement needs to get involved, but I don't even know where to begin with it. It needs to be in a separate section. Let's keep it in the library. I'm fine with it. But it needs to be an adult section behind that you have to request the book. I would be open for that accommodation. But these are our taxpayer dollars. And I showed it to one of my coworkers, and she's an English teacher, and she was just, there's no literature value to it. And that's how I look at books in the library. There needs to be a value to it. Art books are art books. This is smut. And we need to do something about it. We really do. And that's why I didn't want to chime in earlier, because we were talking about library board people. But I can't sit still anymore. I can't.
Mr. Brazel.
Just so everybody's clear here, last week I called Chief Fritz about this very issue. It's not in the hands of the police department, just so you understand. It's, I did talk to Joe McCullough about it. Him and I had a conversation. It's got to be if the police is going to bring it to him, the prosecutor has to agree to prosecute. And him and I had a fairly long conversation. His opinion of it that if, like what you said, well, so are you going to trample people's First Amendment right? And what if it's a 40-year-old man or whatever looking at it, even though it may be smut and disgusting and gross, what about that? But the caveat here is, I believe, if it's available for children, if a child, if it was proven by some kind of a investigation that a young minor is picking this stuff up, which it's on the second shelf, if in fact it is being picked up and checked out without adult supervision, then it's a crime, then it's pornography to a minor. And I think that that's what the prosecution should look at, and I think they should, because there's not only libraries in just in the municipalities, but we checked in Augusta, believe it or not, and in New Melle, they got this crap. You know, and those are unincorporated counties, so we would have action. We wouldn't have to go to municipalities. And so that's when I called the chief and talked to him, and then he did confer with the prosecutor, but it's Joe's elected, and he had an opinion. I'm not saying I agreed with it or didn't agree with it. I think I need to do a deeper dive, but I did talk to him about that. So.
Councilman Brazel, if I may, it's not about checking out. It's available off the shelf. It's not in a secluded section.
Well, you talked to him about it. I agree
So
with
you
you.
can pull it off the
Yeah.
shelf, read it in the library, return it to a table, and be done. It doesn't have to be checked out.
Well, then we got to have a
And
conversation.
that's the problem that I have with it.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just telling you what the
Yeah.
prosecutor told me.
So, and that's
Yeah.
where, and I know, County Executive, this is not a topic that's really underneath our purview, but I think it's risen to that level that we need to do something. And those images, as you stated, it's too much. So
All right.
sorry, I usually don't go on tangent like this.
Mr. Baker.
I just ask
That's
everybody who agrees with, I believe, everyone's opinion up here. I can't speak for everybody, but Mr. Swanson and Mr. Brazel, who spoke about it, convey your concerns to Mayor Borgmeyer, because he's got appointees that he's got on there that I don't think he's taken any steps to correct this. I mean, we've got appointees on the library board that are allowing this to happen, and that's the bigger issue, and that's why I look forward to Mr. Harden being on and Mr. Seed, who actually, I think, represent the opinions of the majority of St. Charles County. So,
Could I make one other?
Yes,
This is about the library, but it's on a different topic. I'm a member of a board that deals with children's issues. This is a not-for-profit, and there are a lot of these kinds of boards in our county that people work without pay to better the county, to help children, help disabled people. Ever since I was on that board, we met in the library. Within the last couple of months, we didn't meet in the library anymore. We were at Spencer Creek. They had a lot of boardroom meetings there. I was told that Mr. Kuhl kicked everybody out of the library because we were not paying for the room. So, I mean, I thought the library was supposed to be for the betterment of the community, and it seems to me allowing these not-for-profit places to have meetings in these buildings where there were every time I went there were numerous rooms that were not being used, and yet for whatever reason, he made the decision that we had to go find some other place to meet. And I don't agree with that either. That's not the spirit of the library. So, my point.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Harden for agreeing to do this. It's going to be a real challenge for him. And, you know, he came to mind very early in this process, and we would have had him before you earlier, except we had to iron out some details with regard to some other things that he might want to do in the future and make sure that this wouldn't interfere with that. But I liked him, first of all, for the same reason I like some of the other people we've appointed in the past. He's a business person. He's run a business. He understands that there are things that you have to do. There's a right way and a wrong way. He's been around the courts a lot. He understands something about First Amendment. He also understands something about the political process. But going beyond that, you know, he's just a very he and Barb. You all know he's married to Barb Hall, and he and Barb have a great family. He's a very strong family person. I think he'll bring those values to this discussion. Now, taking off from what Mr. Brazel said about liberals, to take something from their playbook at its most basic level, appointing Buddy Harden is about diversity. I was shocked. I mean, I knew we had two conservatives on that board. I really didn't know exactly what the political posture was of the other three appointees I had. I knew there was two conservatives, but you know, Georgianne McNabb is getting on in age, and she's been in and out of the hospital, so she has not been as effective as she has been in the past. Joanne was on there for a while. She resigned. Matthew went on, and when this thing first came up, you'll remember Matthew made a motion to go ahead and discontinue that magazine, which was controversial. All right, well, maybe that's good, maybe it's bad. He couldn't get a second. So there wasn't even a discussion. So, you know, having a diversity, having people represent different points of view, I think is important, especially in this process. And it's especially important because I agree with most of you that the majority of people in St. Charles County are concerned about this. I recognize not everybody is. And the people who disagree with me probably have some representatives on that board as well. And I have talked to the mayor about this, and you know, we will continue to discuss it. But at least with Buddy and Matthew there will be discussion now. And when people complain and new books are brought to their attention, they won't just sit there. And we actually met with several people of the board, and that was one of my questions to them. Why are you all not saying anything? I mean, you're just kind of sitting there, and when Matthew tried to start a discussion, nobody even wanted to have a discussion. So at least now we'll see a discussion. We'll know where everybody is on this issue. the discussion will continue, and beyond that, it's all we can do is encourage the people that we've already appointed and then wait until they come up for reappointment. Talk to them then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of totally different subject, couple of announcements here concerning our budget work sessions. Obviously, we have the St. Charles County budget to be dealing with, and we will have work sessions starting on Monday, November the 13th, and it will begin at 6 o'clock. Our regular scheduled meeting is at 7. And also on Monday, November 27th, and also Monday, December the 4th. The times for those second two meetings will be determined as we see fit and what is needed. Okay, so first budget work session will be on Monday, November the 13th. Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.